AUDIT was developed by the World Health Organization as a simple method of screening for excessive drinking and to assist in brief assessment. It provides a framework for intervention to help risky drinkers reduce or cease alcohol consumption and thereby avoid the harmful consequences of their drinking. The audit also helps to identify alcohol dependence and some specific consequences of harmful drinking. It may be administered either as a self-report questionnaire or as an in-person interview. The questionnaire takes less time, is easy to administer, is suitable for computer administration and scoring, and may produce more accurate answers. The interview allows clarification of ambiguous answers, can be administered to clients with poor reading skills, and allows seamless feedback to the client and initiation of brief advice. Each method carries its own advantages and disadvantages that must be weighed in light of time and cost constraints.
So Steve, what brings you in today?
Well, I've been having some problems at work.
Things at work aren't going so well for you. I'm glad you came in to get some extra support. It could really be a great step towards changing things for the better.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Well, I'd like to start out by asking you some questions about your alcohol use. We ask all clients standard questions around substances because it can really help us to achieve the best outcomes of coming in for services. Because alcohol can affect many areas of our clients' lives, it's important for us to know how much you usually drink, whether or not you've experienced any negative problems from drinking. It should only take a couple of minutes. Would it be okay to continue?
Well, I guess so, but I don't really have a problem with alcohol.
Okay. I really appreciate you being so open to discussing this with me today. How often do you have a drink containing alcohol?
Well, I don't drink on the days that I work. Fridays and Saturdays, sometimes Sunday too.
Okay, so 2 to 3 times a week. And how many drinks containing alcohol do you have on a typical day when you're drinking?
Not that much. I'll have maybe 4 beers and then a couple of shots, so I don't know, maybe a total of 6.
Okay, so it sounds like a standard for you might be 6. And how often do you have 4 or more drinks on one occasion? Based on what you've told me so far, it sounds like this is weekly for you. Is that right?
Yeah, I think weekly is fair.
Okay. How often during the last year have you found that you were not able to stop drinking once you started?
Never. I can always stop when I want to. Like I said, I don't have a drinking problem.
Okay. It sounds like you can decide how much to drink and stick with it. I have just a few more questions for you. Thank you so much for sharing this information with me. How often during the last year have you failed to do what was normally expected of you because of drinking?
Well, I called in sick to work one time because I was so hungover. I guess you could consider that failing to do what was expected of me.
Okay. Drinking interfered with your work responsibilities that one time, though it sounds like it's not a regular occurrence for you. How often during the last year have you needed an alcoholic drink in the morning to get yourself going after a heavy drinking session?
Never. I'm not an alcoholic.
Okay, never. Next question is, how often during the last year have you had a feeling of guilt or regret after drinking?
Well, I felt pretty guilty that time that I called in sick. That's just not like me.
Okay. Sounds like being on top of your work responsibilities is important to you. And how often during the last year have you been unable to remember what happened the night before because you'd been drinking?
Oh, never. I don't black out.
Okay. You don't experience blackouts when you drink? Have you or someone else been injured as a result of your drinking?
No, never anything crazy like that. I keep it under control when I drink.
So keeping your drinking under control is important to you. You don't want it to affect your life negatively.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. One last question for you. Has a friend, relative, doctor, or other health worker ever been concerned or suggested you cut down on your drinking?
Well, my wife got on my case pretty hard that time that I called in sick to work, but I think she was just blowing it out of proportion. I know when it's time to be serious and work and when it's time to let loose and have some fun.
So you like to keep a healthy balance between work and fun.
Yeah, that's right.
When was it last that your wife expressed concern about your drinking?
I'd say that was about a month ago when I called in sick.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all this information with me. It really gives us more information to work with as we address some of your future concerns.
Audit scores of 8 or more are recommended as indicators of hazardous and harmful use, as well as possible alcohol dependence. Scores between 8 and 15 are more appropriate for simple advice focused on the reduction of hazardous drinking. Scores between 16 and 19 suggest brief counseling and continued monitoring. Scores of 20 or above warrant further diagnostic evaluation for alcohol dependence. This client scored 14 on the audit. A brief intervention focused on the reduction of hazardous drinking using simple advice and motivational enhancement techniques is most appropriate.